Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to look at The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett, and who was an English humorist, author of fantasy novels, and a satirist. And he is mainly known for writing this a very long series of book called Discworld. Now this particular work, The Color of Magic, was written in 1983. You could call it the introductory part of the Discworld, right? This novel seems to form the introduction for the subsequent 40 other novels. Now, what is Discworld? To understand, because see, every fantastic novel has to have a world of its own, right? In Hogwarts you have like in Harry Potter you have Hogwarts. Just like that, there are all these places, beautiful places like Narnia, right? You have a special world of your own, a magical world. So, for this particular novel, the magical world is nothing but the Discworld, and the world that we actually live in is referred to as round world, right? Because it's round and all that. It's a given. Now, what is this world? This world is in the form of a disc instead of being, spherical, and this disc seems to be supported by four huge elephants, which once again is supported by this one giant floating turtle. Okay, it is very precariously balanced. Okay, and well, we don't know whether the turtle is male or female. I mean, nobody would want to question that, but yeah, it seems to form the crux of the matter, because they actually set out to explore the outer space to figure out whether the giant Atwin, I mean, that is the name of the giant turtle, Atwin, whether the giant Atwin is a male or a female. And we have the two unwitting victims here. Well, I call them victims because they seem to be more played at than players, even though we, for the lack of a better word, we could call them the protagonists. They are more they just come in the way of the fate and the lady luck and all these things that seem to happen to them. Okay, and there's just reaction. See, one thing we need to remember is that Terry Pratchett had a great sense of humor, and he seemed to be amused by all these questions. Of course, we do wonder quite a few things, but not many of us would actually put into writing these questions, like why is the world round, right? So he seems to deconstruct these ideas of the fantasy fiction, or the questions that arise to most of us, but we fail to really give it much thought, right? Other than a simple passing curiosity. So he seems to question why the world is round, where the end of the world or the edge of the world is, and he actually creates the edge of the world, this world. Okay, and then why is our world floating freely in space, and what is supporting it? And he actually gives some support matter here once again, which does not have support of its own, right? And a great many other things, like what role does fate play, or luck plays in what happens to us as human beings, and what would happen if there were aliens, and how would they behave, and will they have as normal a life as we do, and what if they get dropped off into our world? How would they be? Is there an alternate universe where our alternate selves are going through alternate lives? All these are questions that are explored in his work, which is not quite apparent at first read, but when you think about it, they actually seem to be the basis or the foundation on which he has built his characters. Okay, without further ado, let me just move on. These are the basic characters. You can take a look at it. Beltramorod. See, now this list I have made here is not in the order of appearance or importance. Okay, I've just made them up, or you could say it's more like in the order of size, because Balshamroth is like really huge. The Greater Twin is very, very huge. Ran the Barbarian, he is very strong, physically strong, more brawn than brain, and and these Rince, Wind, and Two Flower could be considered as our main protagonists. But as I said earlier, protagonists would not exactly be a very good word for them. But the story is about them, right? What happens to them? Now, I have mentioned just a few guilds here: Thieves Guild, the Assassins Guild, the Traders and Merchants Guild. But there are plenty of guilds out there, and they seem to have their set of rules, and they have a governing body, and penalties and restrictions, rules, all of these, and benefits, of course. I mean, there is a thief guild that actually don't have to go around thieving people. Okay, their job is made easier, so that they wouldn't have to work, and just like people pay them for not thieving, not stealing them. Right? It's really funny. And you know what? There is this luggage, the sword, and there is an iconograph. I mean, a little guy sits inside the iconograph. Where it's more like iconograph is more like a camera. Okay, what do you call it? A magical camera, you could call it, but that's not the word used there. Okay. And this imp, he seems to draw the icons or the pictures. It's so fast that it will like it wouldn't take much time, or as little time as you would from a camera. Okay, getting a photograph from a camera. All right, I'll just move on. And the setting, you need to remember the setting. It's set in different places: Ankmar Park, then manifest in Rimberg, Kingdom of Crow, like how we call it, the edge or the circumference, the potent voyager. I mean, the setting is vast. Also, you need to remember that it goes on in a linear fashion, where they have one adventure after another. Broken Drum Tavern is where most of the action takes place in the first part. Yeah, I've just given it as a timeline of adventures, but it actually is the name of the divisions. I mean, there are chapters, but there is no clear, distinction between chapters. But you could actually find difference between one set of adventures to the next. So they are basically divided into 4 parts. The first part being the Color of Magic, and then the Sending of Eight, and the Lure of Rimberg, and finally Close to the Edge. So I'll just give you a rough overview of what these are about. In the first part, in part 1, Color of Magic, there is this Ankmar Park, and which is burning. Okay, in the beginning of the novel, we find that the whole city is being burned, and there are 2 people brought, the Hablander and the Weasel. These are the thieves, and these are barbarians actually, and they are trying to steal 2 people who are coming horseback. That is, these 2 are our protagonists, Two Flower and Rincewind. Now they are being intercepted by these 2 barbarians, and when asked what is happening, where are you going, and trying to steal them, they had actually have nothing with them. Rincewind and Two Flower don't have anything with them, so they simply say that we were trying to escape the Great Fire. And who started the fire? Well, that question prompts an entire story. Now the story goes something like this. Two Flower has arrived at Ankmar Park. He is the first traveler to the city. Okay, he wants to explore the city. Now Two Flower is an insurance agent. Now nobody has heard of this word insurance before, and from everyone pronounced it as in, sewer as in into the gutter, sewer, sewer, and ants, ants, in sewer ants. Now everyone is curious about him. He is unable to communicate in their language. So Rincewind inadvertently he goes out of his way to help this person who is so confused, and everyone is getting confused about what he wants in this tavern. The thieves actually take him to the tavern, and there everyone is confused and they don't really communicate well. Rincewind just tries to help there, and this guy, Toothlar, pays him so much, so well for being his interpreter, his translator. And Rincewind is first of all very reluctant to be his interpreter, mainly because of the combination that Tuflar is made of. Tuflar is first of all very, very naive as in very, very innocent. He doesn't seem to have a sense of his own wealth. He doesn't seem to take it very seriously, which here is a great liability, a huge liability for others. And secondly, this Tuflar is wealthy, of course. You know, having wealth is one thing, and being aware of the dangers that it would attract is a necessary addendum to it. So Rincewind does not wish to get involved in it, so he just like takes some money and then the next day he wants to escape. But once again, Rincewind is intercepted by the patrician and he is made he's given the order that if he did not accompany Rincewind, Tuflar as his interpreter everywhere, he would be seriously punished. He would be in huge difficulty. Thinking about this, Rincewind agrees to become the interpreter, and they go on. I mean, there are a few things that I've left out, but since we're just going to make a very short video of it, I'm not going to go into too many details. They attract a lot of trouble. Actually, Tuflar attracts a lot of trouble because of his naivete and, of course, wealth. So people try to kidnap him. They and he tries to sell insurance to this owner of the tavern, Broken Drum Tavern, and this person, the owner, he tries to take advantage of him. He feels that okay, if he lit fire to his stock, he might get a lot of money. So he puts just a second. So this guy, Broadman, that is the owner of the tavern, he sets a match to his stock of candles and oil, and the entire town is burning in no time at all. All because of this one thing called insurance, which they feel that they would get if the tavern caught fire. So Rincewind and Tuflar, they escape the city on newly bought horses, and the fire is already spreading from the drum, that is like the broken drum. So once they have had their rest, this is a story related by Rincewind and Tuflar to the people, to Broad, the Hablander, and Weasel. Okay, so they have had their food, their rest, and everything, and they have taken off once again into the night. Now, in part 2, there is this one place called Dun Manifestin, which is the home of gods, and there, the gods are playing a dice game. Okay, so each one throws a dice, and wherever it falls, it seems to affect the destiny or the fate of the people in the Discworld. So, Rincewind and Tuflar, these are the victims here, or it could be the people affected by the dice game. So the two major players, there are many other players, there's Yo and everyone, but the two major players are Lady Luck and Fate. Okay, so Fate seems to bring a lot of difficulty for these two, whereas Lady Luck seems to be protecting them somehow. So this Rincewind and Tuflar, they are going through this wooded path to Germs. There's this one place called Germ, and Rincewind is explaining all about the nature of magic and how he is a failed wizard. Did I mention this before? Rincewind is not a stupid one, but almost next to nothing wizard. He seems to know only one spell, and he doesn't even know what that spell does. Okay, so you can imagine the kind of wizard he is. So he seems to have looked at this one book called the Octavo, one text, magical text, at the Unseen University. And there, one of the great eight spells of the book had leaped into his mind and thwarted his attempt to learn any other spell. So the god Offler unveils his final move in the game and sends a huge troll to attack them. So, as I said in Dan Manifested, these gods are playing a dice game. Well, they don't have anything to do, that's why. And you know what? There's also a god for crocodiles here. Okay, so God Offler, he seems to throw this dice where a troll comes to attack them, and Rincewind manages to kill it. Well, once again, he is not capable of doing it, but only out of luck. Okay, but then, because of this troll, both of their horses bolt. Toofla's horse had bolted, and he is taken somewhere, and Rincewind is stuck in a tree. He's been chased there after his horse was killed by an angry bear, made angry by Toofla's panicking horse, and he was chased by a pack of wolves, angry for the same reason as the bear. So we have got wolves here, bear, you know, a troll, a horse, all of these are there. Now he is stuck in the branches. Well, of course, in a magical land, in the trees, you would find, whom do you find? The dryads. The dryads are out to kill him. They need a sacrifice. But then before he dies, they show him where Rincewind is. So he uses this little portal that these dryads open for Rincewind to view and Toofla. So Rincewind escapes from there, reaches Toofla. He, and like I don't know, during the characterization I forgot to mention death. I think I have mentioned it, I don't remember. Anyway, death seems to be personified, and he seems to be, once again, just as Rincewind is a failed wizard, death seems to be seems to have difficulty taking Rincewind soul. Every time death approaches Rincewind, death is thwarted, probably out of the game, because of the game the Lady Luck plays. So once again, here we see Rincewind stuck in this place, in this tree where he is supposed to die because of there's this one hornet's nest, and it drops on the wolf's back, and the wolves, they come after him. But then everything, lot of confusion, out of which what we understand is that Rincewind somehow reaches Toofla. Now, Toofla, what has happened to him so far is that he has found a stone plaque advertising the temple of one Bel-Shammarath. He sets off to find it. Rincewind finds himself in the domain of dryads. Now, these dryads, they initially are very friendly, but then they turn nasty and they want to sacrifice him. But then he is once again, the dryads intend to sacrifice him, but when they see one of the 8 great spells in his head, they teleport him away into the temple of Bel-Shammarath. There he meets once again Tooflar. All right, and Tooflar, Rincewind wants Tooflar not to mention this one particular word or number 8. Okay, so this seems to be the magic word that wakes up this one monster. Bel-Shammarath is that monster. So eventually they find the central chamber, and Run, who is attempting to lever up Run the barbarian, he is trying to lever up a large octagonal stone slab on the floor. So Rincewind tries to tell him the importance of not mentioning the number 8, but Run's magical talking sword Kring, confused, says it, because Kring is always jabbing away. He doesn't know when to stop and know what not to talk. So Kring immediately says the word 8, and of course the monster wakes up. So this hideous monster from the dungeon dimensions is released from under the slab and attacks. So although Run manages to hold it off for a time, he is fighting a losing battle, because Two flower salamanders flare off. They are photographic accessories, magical creatures that absorb the octarine, the magical color light of the world, flaring off the other colors. Now, see, Rincewind killed the troll accidentally, or rather because of his luck. And Two Flower, he manages to kill the monster, Belshamarot. Once again, magically out of luck. Okay, so, and how does he kill it? By the flash of a light from his camera. There's this like one camera or something, a camera-like thing that gives off this flash, and because of this flash of light, Balram is killed. The temple, so far, it's been like in existence for thousands of years, but within minutes, it's like completely gone. Run rescues Rincewind and Two Flower as the temple collapses. And Rincewind and Two Flower employ him. Run the barbarian is employed by Rincewind and Two Flower as a bodyguard in exchange for pictures of himself. Because Run, like most wrestlers, or rather, I don't know, there is no generic basis for it, but it is very stereotypical that those who have good physique or good face, they tend to be a little vain. They like to look at themselves a lot, right? Run the Barbarian, he loves to look at his photograph so much that in exchange for his protection, that is, these people hire him as bodyguard, not for money, but for pictures of his. Now, coming to part 3, the lure of Rim. I've written Rimberg here mainly because it's actually a lure of Whim. Okay. After many weeks traveling together, Rincewind, Two Flower, and Run have stumbled into an area with a very high magical field, noticeable by the unpredictability of tossing coins, the tendency of bushes to talk and walk about, and by a huge upside down mountain, the Wimberg. So, I have great difficulty in imagining such a mountain. The peak is downwards and the base is up. Or you could say the base is very, very small area wise comparatively to the peak. The peak is really big, like really broad. All right. Now, this particular mountain, the upside down mountain, has all sorts of creatures. There are there are like dragons, basically mythical dragons, huge mythical dragons. But the good part is that you have to imagine them. Okay, so they get closer. They are revealed to these dragons, and they try to run to the woods, but they are not fast enough. So Rincewind wakes up in the woods with a huge dragon and its rider nearby. He inches away from it and escapes and finds a sword which is jammed in a tree. He frees it, but they are found by the dragon rider, whose name is Kitra. Okay, threatening him with Kring. Rincewind learns that Two Flower and Run are prisoners in the Wimberg. While Rincewind has been knocked out unconscious, Two Flower and Run the Barbarian both have been taken hostage. Okay, so Kistra, Rincewind convinces Kistra to take him on his dragon, Bronze Sepha. They arrive in this main arena where people walk on the roof of a huge cavern by means of rings in the roof and hooked boots. Rincewind finds that he has to fight Lord. Okay, Liort. I have mentioned Lord as the sister of Lysa's brother. Okay, so the dragon lord at the top of the cavern, upside down with hooked boots. Why this happens is mainly because of the confusion that a lord thinks that these people have come to usurp his throne. Okay, he is the lord of this place, but his sister wants to kill her brothers and take up the throne herself. Okay, the king has recently passed away, and there is dispute between the children. The girl, she wants to eliminate all of her brothers, and she wants to be the queen there. And the brother there, Lyot, he of course is the actual heir. So he feels threatened from all sides, and he thinks that Rincewind and Two Flower have come to take up his place. So Lord has a magic sword and Runsman loses and he is about to fall down. Fall down as in like it's really really down, okay? They are fighting at the top of the cavern. It's like on top of a mountain. Imagine top of a mountain and he is about to fall to his death. But what happens? In two flowers, I mean, we are going to look at like two different places simultaneously, okay? This is what is happening to Rinsman so far, has happened to Rinsman so far. Now we are going to look at Two Flower and Run, who are discussing dragons, okay? They are in a dungeon, they are in a cell, okay, in prison, taken hostage, and they are talking about about dragons. So Two Flower is really excited, and but Run refuses to believe they exist. Soon the dragon lady Lesa, a dragon lord was Lyot, dragon lady is Lesa. These are brother and sisters. Okay. Soon the dragon lady, she enters with a proposal for Run. She says like, if you eliminate my brother, I'll be prepared to marry you. Okay, brothers actually. So Lisa enters with a proposal for Run. She is fighting her two brothers Lyot and Laetus for control of the Wimberg. Run will fight them. If he wins, he will wed Lisa and become Lord of the Domain. He accepts and he is led from the cell. He is taken from the cell. Tufla, all alone, wishes that he could find a dragon. And he is rather surprised because suddenly in front of him comes a dragon, okay, claiming that it has been summoned by him. Now he escapes from the cell and he and his dragon move off and find an old man in a throne room. Grisha, the first Lord of the Wimberg. He is undead. He was killed by Lisa, his daughter, but refuses to die until one of his children is sufficiently powerful enough to wrest control from the other two. So this is sort of like really ridiculous because no father wants his children fighting, but here the father, who has already been killed by his daughter, is refusing to die completely, okay, saying that one of his children has to kill the other two to take up the throne. Only then he would be he would rest in peace. I hope you can sufficiently appreciate the ridiculousness of this situation. So, in this magical environment, he says a strong imagination, such as two flowers, can summon dragons. And so, he is explaining everything. And he also explains that Rincewind is in danger, and Two Fly and his dragon go to the central chamber to rescue him. So now this is the point where Rincewind and Lyot have been fighting, and Rincewind is about to fall. So Two Flower swoops in with the dragon, catches Rincewind on the back of the dragon, and they are about to leave when Lyot is about to he's prepared to fight Run. So these people think that okay, Run is in danger, so we need to save him. So these two, Rincewind and Two Flower, they are on the back of a dragon and they swoop in to save Run, who is not exactly in need of any saving. Okay, he is winning the fight and he is about to marry Lisa. Now Lisa pursues them. Okay, Run is all the while kicking and yelling, "Why? Come on, leave me!" And well. So what happens is Lisa calls her own dragon and she gives chase. So in order to escape Lisa, Two-Flower pushes this dragon higher and higher. Eventually the air becomes too thin and Two-Flower passes out. What would happen then? You have to remember that the dragon itself was a figment of Two-Flower's imagination. A figment which had become factual for him, which had saved him, right? So once he falls asleep or becomes unconscious, the dragon vanishes and the three plummet to death. So Two Flower and Run are falling back to the ground. Lisa rescues Run and leaves Rincewind and Two Flower to their fate. So suddenly the extreme magical field shows another effect, ripping a hole in the fabric of reality and sucking the duo in. Rincewind appears on an aeroplane under siege and accidentally apprehends a terrorist before reality suddenly returns to normal and deposits Rincewind, Two Flower, and the luggage into the circle of sea. So very quickly, let me just go through the last part, part 4. Close to the edge. So Rincewind and Twoflower, they have been at sea for many weeks, and they are in mortal doom. They are about to die. Okay, now their ship has strayed into the rim currents. Rim would be the border currents. Okay, and is about to plunge over the edge. Storms rage around them, and in a moment of uncharacteristic humanity, Rincewind rescues a small frog. Suddenly, a huge wave rushes over them, and Rincewind is knocked out. He wakes up on the same ship, which for some reason is still on the disc. In fact, it is attached to some ropes and being towed along a fence on the very edge of the world towards a small rocky outcrop. There they meet Tethys, a sea troll from another world who arrived on this world after falling from the edge of his own world. So you see, there is like multiple universes around all over, and they seem to be traveling from one universe to another, or like one world to another world. Now this seems to be patrolling the circumference, a huge 10,000 mile long drift net built by the kingdom of Krull in order to catch items falling over the edge. So Tethys explains about himself and his job and about how the circumference was built. So these two travelers spend the night there. Now Tethys receives a message stating that Rincewind and Twoflower are to be sent to Krull at once. Now initially they are taken as hostages. Okay, the Krull people, they are afraid of water. They are hydrophobes. Okay, like powerful wizards with intense loathing for water. So Rincewind wonders why they are so important to warrant a transport as expensive as a skimmer. So they arrive in Krull and are locked in a fabulous room full of food. So the guest master, Gahartra, tells them they are to be sacrificed. Instead of being taken hostages to work, they are about to be sacrificed. Big honor for them. Now he then departs, having temporarily incapacitated Rincewind for trying to attack him, leaving them to themselves. So at that point, the frog that Rincewind rescued reveals its importance. It is a lady luck in disguise. So wonderful, right? So she tells him that the Krullians have built a vessel capable of flying down into space and discovering the sex of great Atwin, the world turtle. So the duo have been like annoying fate for a long time. So he has cut a deal with the Krullian arch astronomer. If Rincewind and Twoflower are sacrificed to him, then he will grant good fortune to the mission. So the lady helps them escape and then disappears. While trying to escape the Krullian guards, they stumble into the room containing a model of the disk, the mission and the ship, the potent Voyager. It contains these two space suits that the Chelonians will wear. Chelonians here would be more of an astronomer, what we call the astronauts that go into space. So they have these astronaut suits kept there. And aware that they have no other option, Rincewind and Twoflower disguise themselves in the suits. They then have to head to the launch platform. From where this, the spaceship is supposed to be launched from. They arrive to find a huge amphitheater of spectators waiting for them to be launched into space. The arch astronomer recognizes them and is about to stop them when the luggage arrives, having been following them for some time. This diverts his attention, and Twoflower hides in the ship. Before Rincewind can climb in, the trapdoor shuts. So, Twoflower alone is in the spaceship now, along with the luggage. Rincewind has no choice but to hold on as he and the vessel are launched over the edge of the world. Rincewind awakes in a tree projecting out from the rimfall. Suddenly, one of Death's manservants arrives with orders to claim him. But as Rincewind is a wizard, he holds the right of being claimed personally by Death. Before the demon can argue, the branch Rincewind is in snaps and he plunges down into the void. So, the main themes here are exploration, society, the factions, the various factions, especially the Krull, they have certain factions. The gods seem to be like divided, and especially in the first part. In Ankh-Morpork Park, you would find so many guilds. They have like so many factions. So society and the factions, they are very similar to what to that of our real world, and they seem to be replica of our real world, but they are more stark in contrast. And luck and ability could be one of the themes here, because Rincewind seems to be not that capable, but luck seems to favor him a lot. The same would go for Tufla, because someone as naive and as wealthy as Tufla would always find himself in trouble. Yes, he does, but he always seems to come off it without a scratch, right? And power of words. Well, this is one thing, like, in the cave of Bel Shamroth, where the word aid would could you know could wake up a sleeping monster, a monster that has been sleeping for thousands of years. The power of words is something that could form a theme. And again, in another sense, in the first part, when Tuflar is unable to communicate with anyone, and that creates a lot of confusion, and there are, like, words being used to manipulate people. All of these are could form the basic themes of this novel. So the main core of the novel seems to call for the issues um, abounding in our real world, round world. And I guess I've taken up a lot of time, and I hope this would be useful to you. All the best. Assalamu alaikum.